What is up, everybody, and welcome to another ITG Daily. I'm Drew Bosley. You can find me on Twitter at ArtisticGamer28, and that is the one, the only Brad Davison. You know him as the Northern Nerdcast. Brad, thank you once again for joining us, my friend.
Thanks for having me, man. It was fun last time, and so I was chomping at the bit to do it again, and sounds like we've got a real big planned episode. So.
Yeah, you saw the doc. We got a little bit to talk about today, don't we?
Just a fraction of that's a lie.
Yeah, we have a ton going on today, but before we get going, Brad, how was the weekend, man? What'd you play?
Well, my friend and I carried Zub throughout Outriders.
Shots fired,
yeah.
Zub.
Shots fired. No, it was actually a lot of fun. Like obviously the enemies increase the more players you get in the game, and we were doing a hunting quest, and I've never seen so many of these enemies, but the difficulty level just doesn't make sense to me, which we'll talk about later. But
Sure.
Bosses are a lot easier than fighting some of these alpha enemies. So it's But yeah, it was just funny because every couple of seconds, I'm down, and then we'd have to stop what we're doing and go revive Zeb.
That is awesome. But of course, you just joined us live right now over on twitch.tv/theofficialITG because it's ITG Daily, the one spot we bring you all the hottest in the gaming news. Or if you can't find us live, send us your questions later on Discord at ITG Daily, or hit us up at InsideTheGame.ca, podcast services around the world, and of course, TV streaming networks as well. Brad, let's get into today's show, dude, because Battlefield sounds like it could be next gen only. Metal Gear Solid is tweeting a couple things, which seems a little odd, and Xbox cloud streaming continues to grow. Let's kick things off with Battlefield 6 not coming to the PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, according to rumors. Now, rumors, speculations, so take this with a grain of salt, but Battlefield 6 might not be coming to the previous generation consoles, according to a well-known leaker. This leak comes from Tom Henderson. He posted on his Twitter feed, in other words, I still have yet to hear anything concrete that Battlefield will come to past gen consoles. Theory, it indicates to me that it probably won't, and the biggest reason, Battlefield will be coming to Game Pass day one to help boost player numbers. Now, we've heard the rumors that it could be coming to Game Pass, Brad, but not on next or last gen consoles. To me seems a little odd. That's a lot of player base to lose out on, right? Like the PlayStation
Absolutely.
4 has huge numbers. So what are your thoughts here?
Well, being somebody that hasn't really delved into any Battlefield, I can't remember the one I played, but your characters kept dying. It was like an introduction game. You are the Buffalo Soldiers. I think that was Battlefield 1.
Okay.
Like not Battlefield 1, but current Battlefield 1. But it's big, and like I can see the reasoning behind it in the sense that they want to push the graphical capabilities. And I mean, we've seen what happened with some previous games that were shown on PC and current stuff that were never shown for last gen.
Sure.
But it's not really a good thing either, because you can't find PS5s or Xbox, the Xbox Series anywhere.
Exactly.
And if you're willing to spend $1,200-$1,300, then okay, you've got yourself a system. But it's not a great move for this to happen. But I mean, that's probably not why they're doing it. But if that's the reasoning because they want to push the graphics, then I can see it.
Well, the hardware specifications now compared to last gen, like we'll talk about the complications we're currently experiencing with Outriders, because that alone we'll get into the last gen versus this gen. But I think that's the biggest thing they want to push. They're talking about, we've heard rumors of 128 people on the battlefield for their newest battle royale scenario, right? And then they will have all this. Battlefield's well known in the world of demolition, right? They just crush buildings, and that's what they really push, and that's a lot of hardware and specs that are going to be involved in doing that. And maybe to pull that off, you need next gen only. But it's unfortunate because, like you say, you can't find a next gen console anywhere right now, man. Like there's a shortage around the world.
And somehow PS5 is still the biggest selling console of all time. But that's because of scalpers. That's a whole other thing. But that's like, it's just mind boggling. But yeah, they're like, it's impossible right now. So they for stuff like this, do what a lot of the other developers are doing, release it on the last gen stuff with the upgrade. Like if they're going to send a code or something to say, yeah, you purchased this, and then you've got it on your PS5, Xbox Series X, whichever one you have.
No, we've seen that, but then we've also seen the limitations of last gen as well suffer when launching a new game. So how do you prevent that? You launch on one generation only, right? Don't do the split. Maybe that will save them. We've seen EA get in a lot of trouble and have a lot of heat in the past. Maybe this will get some goodwill instead. And then if they bring it over like Outriders did to Game Pass, that's a whole other ball game again.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to that.
Oh, well, let's find out what the future happens there. But the future isn't looking so good when it comes to Amazon. Amazon cancels its Lord of the Rings MMORPG. The cancellation came following a dispute between Amazon and Tencent. Amazon has canceled its Lord of the Rings MMORPG that was first announced in 2019. As reported by Bloomberg, the game was in development at Amazon Game Studios alongside China-based Technology Holdings as well, which was purchased once again by Tencent. At this point, dude, I think Tencent just owns everything.
Absolutely.
Right?
And it's disappointing to see, but like we had talked about this before. Amazon, I don't know, like I think they should stick to selling games, not making games, because their track record, they've had other games canceled too. There was a game in 2016 that we never saw the light of.
It's called Breakaway.
Yes, and then I was also reading that there's a game, allegedly it's been delayed, but they're saying August 2021. We'll see if that happens.
Yeah, it's okay. So let's break it down, right? It says we love the Lord of the Rings IP, and we are disappointed that we won't be bringing this game to customers. A spokesperson over at Amazon said, okay, so they announced and actually had this up and running, Breakaway. Breakaway was this 4 versus 4. This was their focus on esports. That was what they were pushing for. They wanted to get into the world of esports and thought maybe if they got in there that they could sustain this, rise in the world of esports and how they could maybe hopefully dominate and bring in a lot of cash. It was a 4 versus 4 kind of battle arena scenario. It looked pretty cool, but that was back in 2016, and it is now gone. Follow up was Crucible. The guys and I played Crucible a lot. Actually, Scott, myself, and you will all probably hear him over in the chat, was Agent Howell. Andrew, the three of us would set out almost on a daily basis and we'd be playing Crucible. And it was fantastic to a point, and then it just kind of hit a wall, and everybody bailed on it. Dude, they took it off the store. You can't get Crucible any longer. And now they're talking about they have one game left, like New World it's called. This is their MMORPG that was supposed to go along with the whole Lord of the Rings thing, and now that's canceled. Like, dude, Amazon, like you say, may not be meant to be producing any games anytime soon.
And like Lord of the Rings has always had like obviously a massive following, so it's a blow because a lot of people want to be able to create their own Hobbit or whatever race they want to go with in this game and play it. And I mean, most of the Lord of the Rings games haven't really been good, at best. And with the cancellation of this, there's still that Lord of the Rings Gollum, which is supposed to be coming out. And I mean,
so far,
I don't know. It's not being done by Amazon, but
so that's hopeful.
It's very hopeful, and but it's a big blow because like you have to talk about all these MMORPGs, and Lord of the Rings is one of the only ones, and Game of Thrones so far that haven't had that done. Not correctly because it hasn't come out and it's been canceled, but it's a blow. And I mean, I could honestly see if it was far enough along, I could see Xbox purchasing it to release it.
Oh, okay.
Somehow, it's really hard to predict that, but
sure,
it's somebody will eventually come along and be like, Lord of the Rings does need an actual MMO.
It needs something, I think, at this point, right? ITG Parker posts Battle for Middle Earth was a great RTS.
Yes, and Battle for Middle Earth 2 as well. But yeah,
that's it, right?
Like, again, yeah.
You do have the Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor games, right? Those have the twist and kind of feel of the Lord of the Rings that I think are probably one of the best out there. But when it comes to an MMO RPG, dude, there's nothing out right now that I've seen when it comes into the world of Lord of the Rings, and right now it's suffering.
Absolutely. And I mean, I actually completely forgot about the Mordor series, but it did have that Assassin's Creed feel as well.
It was good.
And your Nemesis system, which was like, that was insane. Like, just an enemy kills you, and then they rank up, and then they become a commander. Exactly.
It was so good, the Nemesis system, and no one has ever used it since. I don't understand how no one thought of this idea to carry it on into their new games. That is such a cool system, and it's just gone dormant. Dude, you don't see it anywhere at all.
Well, didn't Nate say something about Warner Brothers trying to patent that? So maybe that's why. And what, like, maybe because it's a patent pending or something that nobody can do it. But I mean, it's not nothing to copy homework.
Sure.
Just make it a little bit different and call it something different, like Enemies system.
That's yeah, exactly, right? It doesn't take much to just put a little spin on your own and then carry that system over. But let's get into, you want to get back into this? Here we go again. Days Gone. You ready, guys? Man, oh man. Siphon Filter and Days Gone writer would love to make a new single-player Socom game. I would love to see a combat game that's based around an individual's experience. This, Brad, like, where do we even begin here? Because John Garvin, who was most recently the creative director on Days Gone, was asked by a viewer on David Jaffe's YouTube show if there was any dormant Sony IP he would like to work on should it ever return from Sony. Socom had such a huge following when it came out. It was always outselling Siphon Filter by like 2-1. If I remember right, crazy. He says. Yeah, it was huge. I loved Socom. I remember getting it back on the original on PS2, and you put the headset on, and you can actually like bark orders into it and send your guys out. That was one of the most cool things I've ever seen in the game, and like, we don't even have that anymore. Instead, you're sending out commands with prompts on your controller or your keyboard. Like, why aren't we asking or telling our guys what to do, kind of thing, in that scenario? It was cool, right? It was just huge thing. And when Socom creator Seth Luisi was running the group, and they were innovating with headsets, and they had all the cool stuff going on, I think a story-driven version of that kind of game would be great. Here's how you compete with Call of Duty, he says. You don't. This is what he said, right? He said, you don't do the big multiplayer mode. They've got that covered. But Call of Duty's story it kind of sucks, he says, in his opinion. Dude, I kind of like the stories. That's what Scott and I always focus on. I enjoy those stories. But he wants to focus on a heavy take on the stories and focus on getting back into those. But it's just, I would like to see Socom. I don't know if we'll ever see another Socom in the future at all, Brad. What do you think?
I mean, the last one that came out was on PS3. It was Socom US Navy SEALs 4. Because I know 1, 2, and 3 came out on PS2. Then there was a slew of them that came out on PSP. I actually didn't know that there was 10 games. I thought there was only like
so
2 or
many.
3.
Yeah.
And then I think one of the issues with the latest one, besides the fact that the reviews weren't the greatest, was they tried utilizing the failed accessory, which was the gun. Like, it was an actual gun peripheral that you put your PlayStation Move into. And then, it's just, that was how you played the game. And that's like, the gun peripherals meant more for like a VR, like Farpoint or something like that, where it's not, I mean, and first person. You shouldn't be playing a third person game with a gun. Like, it feels off. And but I mean, this gets into the next point we'll talk about shortly, but reviews too. Like, the game got lukewarm reception for the last Socom on PS3. But they also went away from a lot of the stuff that made Socom cool. Like you said, like, you buy the original Socom and you got the headset in this big box, and you felt like a boss. Like, I'm going to tell you what to do and you're going to do it. And now that's all gone.
Yeah, that one's gone. And what else is gone? His Days Gone. But let's get into another article from John, who has also said, don't complain if a game doesn't get a sequel if it wasn't supported at launch. Days Gone creative director and writer John Garvin said that if you love a game and want a sequel, you should buy it at full price. As reported by VGC, Garvin was a guest on the podcast once again for David Jaffe, and discussed many topics regarding Days Gone and his time with the video game industry. His appearance also arrives a bit over a week after Bloomberg's discussion about Days Gone 2 being pitched and then canned, right? He says, I do have an opinion on something that your audience may find of interest, and it might tick off some other people. We'll put it that way. If you love a game, buy it at full price. I can't tell you how many times I've seen gamers say, yeah, I got that on sale, or I got that through PlayStation Plus, whatever. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, you don't, but you don't complain if a game doesn't get a sequel if you don't support it at launch. Dude, I get what he's saying, right? I absolutely understand what he's saying, because if you don't get the support at launch, that's what Sony's banking on right now, is all those launch number sales. And if they don't get the support, then why make a sequel?
It seems to have caused a bit of controversy, considering somebody like with the change.org petition. Last I checked, it was at like 41,000 signatures. And I'm not plugging nothing here, but when we talked about it on my podcast, how many of those 40,000 signatures would actually be willing to pay full price? Not a lot.
Sure. What podcast was that, Brad?
Yeah, it's the Northern Nerdcast.
All right. Where do people find that?
On YouTube at the Northern Nerdcast, Discord at the Northern Nerdcast, Facebook the Northern Nerdcast, Twitter at Northern Nerdcast, but cast is spelled CST because I didn't have too many characters.
That's fair.
But thank you for that. But yeah, and then he also took to Twitter afterwards and said that his comments weren't based towards Days Gone, but it was due to pirating issues with Socom on the PSP because it's a heavily piratable torrent.
Oh, man.
So yeah, and then David Jaffe had to defend him as well, stating that his comments were taken out of context. I don't believe it, because I mean, obviously this is a family show, but he did have explicitives in his saying.
Yeah. And
it just so happened that this came out around the same time that all this has happened. God of War. Wow. That
coincidence.
Jaffe. But Days Gone is now going on the PC. There's talks about it possibly seeing a PS5 update. So again, like you said with Scott last week, there's been no there's no proof that it was actually denied. There was never any rejection notice. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But his comments were necessary, but not in the tone he took it.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's really what it comes across as, right? Is how he presented himself as he was explaining his thoughts. And sometimes you get caught up in the moment, and that's what happens. And I'm not by any means defending him. I didn't even see the interview. I caught this later on and found out the details. But I understand at the same point what his point is, right? If you don't support it, then why would Sony want to go on and make another one? If it didn't sell well in the first place, people get it on sale or they get it on PlayStation Plus. But then you got to look at the gamers too, go, dude, I don't know how this game is going to be. Let's wait for reviews, wait for our review over at Inside the Game, or we'll catch it when it goes on PlayStation Plus, or we see it as a sale price, right? That way you can get in and go, okay, you know what? Turns out I didn't really like this game, and I didn't have to spend the full $80.
And that's the problem was, it was very buggy when it launched, and it turned a lot of people off. It's also partially Sony's fault with how they marketed it, because it was, to me, it wasn't marketed as an open world. Like I see it, and again, if I'm stepping on boundary lines here, I'm sorry, but I saw it as GTA with zombies.
Oh, really?
Well, because you get on your motorcycle, you go to a town, you do missions, you got to go out in the field, that's just how I saw it.
Yeah.
But they, like, I'm sure if a lot of, if I mean, how Sony would say it's GTA with zombies, but it might have done better. Like, but they presented it as a survival horror action game with RPG elements, because you had to update your bike and all this stuff to get farther. But it was all, it was probably one of their worst marketing games.
No, absolutely, right? It didn't come across as the game it really kind of ended up being. And the thing is, now that everybody is talking about it, dude, everybody is playing it. That's the other side of it, right? We're all talking about it. We've been talking about it for the last week and a half, more or less at this point, and everybody's playing it now. Everybody I talk to is like, oh man, like, I love this game. I'm seeing it all over my Twitter feed. I'm seeing it all over Twitch and other things like that. And it is nonstop to see what's happening. So I'm curious to see where the future of Days Gone 2 lies. Last I checked, that change.org for Days Gone, it's at almost 50,000.
It started like Wednesday?
Yeah. So it keeps climbing. Is 50,000 enough? No, not for Sony to give a crap at all, right? I don't think they'll even bother with it. But we'll see what happens. Who's bothering though right now and making a ton of money is Xbox, because the Xbox Surface and cloud gaming once again boosts Microsoft's Q2 earnings. Microsoft posted the second quarter of its 2021 financial results just last week, reporting revenue of $43.1 billion and a net income of $15.5. Revenue is up 17%, and net income has increased by 33%. We saw some impressive, it's massive, right? Saw some impressive growth with the Surface, Xbox, and cloud-related services. So the PC market has also seen the biggest growth in over 10 years. I think it's a lot of us due to the fact that we all work from home now at this point, right? We all need a computer. That's the biggest thing at this point, is that we need something to work off of and work on. So everybody went out and bought this, and yeah, the biggest growth in 10 years because the pandemic hit. It's funny how you see certain people capitalize and earn a lot of this, which, well, yeah, that's a whole other show.
Absolutely.
but
it's just crazy to see those numbers, like.
Absolutely. Well, that's the other thing, right? And then they said the first quarter sales for Microsoft's Xbox Series X and S consoles were both debuted toward the end of the quarter, November 10th. And Microsoft says hardware revenue has grown 86% thanks to next-gen consoles. Dude, that's massive.
Absolutely.
So,
and I'm not even an Xbox. I'm not a Microsoft guy, and like that's impressive to me. So
they're pulling in big numbers. They're continuing to grow. I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon whatsoever. And then let's get into what is here's another story out of Xbox today. Was the xCloud gaming for Windows 10 and PC and Apple phones and tablets begin a limited beta for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members. So this was posted over on the X-Wire. You can check that out on xboxwire.com or something like that, I believe. Our mission at Xbox is to empower you to play games you want with the people you want anywhere you want. Simply put, we believe games have the power to connect humanity, and it's our mission to make gaming more accessible to people around the world. As we shared at the end of last year, we're bringing Xbox to more players on more devices via the cloud this year. Starting tomorrow, we'll begin sending out invites to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members to start testing the Xbox Cloud Gaming limited beta for Windows PC and Apple phones and tablets. Now, that's the other thing right there. They focus solely right now on Android devices only. We haven't seen them come over to Apple. Apple's had this, the cloud service kind of window opportunity, and they put a halt on it. You've seen them stop, and now they're going to open it up to Apple users as well. It just keeps growing. Xbox Game Pass is unstoppable.
No, absolutely. And like we had talked about this just before we went on. Like, is this what does this mean for Stadia? Like, we won't get into that bit, but like they're going to be doing their own streaming device, and like it's crazy just to see that they're taking like, again, this goes back to borrowing someone's homework and making it your own. They're taking something that has proven that it works. It's just it to me, it needs the right company to do it. I'm not knocking Google Stadia because I've never played it. Sure. But if Xbox had done this around the same time as, like, if they had launched at the same time as Google Stadia, there'd be no Google Stadia. Like Xbox, people would be like, "Oh, it's Xbox." Like let's just jump on. We know what we know what they offer. So like this is massive. So
I am a Stadia user, right? Like I like my Stadia. I enjoy my Stadia. But when you compare the two, you're getting Xbox xCloud games on the cloud service. I'm getting the ability to tap in right to my Xbox or now on PC. So it opens up my entire Xbox library at my fingertips, and they've got now touch controls as well. And they've just announced, dude, like again, like it just keeps coming, right? So they announced a new partnership with Rainway. So let's discuss this as well. I want to toss this into the mix while we're here. Sure. Rainway partners with Microsoft to deliver new cloud gaming experiences. Rainway's unique technology for real-time interactive streaming is enabling Microsoft to bring Xbox cloud gaming to more devices through browsers. So here we go. We're talking about Windows 10 again, right? So this allows you to take it everywhere and anywhere we go. That's the biggest thing moving forward, Brad. Cloud gaming seems to be the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
it's unstoppable at this point. So I mean, the only thing that would prevent this from really going any further is if, touch wood, but like the entire server just goes down. Like everybody's wireless, no internet at all. Then that'll stop it. But that's how it is. And as a collector, I'm going to have to accept that at some point. I'm still holding hope.
Well, that's the other side of it too, right? Is now we go to a digital forefront and you lose the collector's edition or the disc, the hard copy of the games, right? Everything's moving to the cloud, but it opens up the library for everybody on Xbox to just go and play wherever. The ability to, like, so I was capturing some footage the other day for the show, and I didn't have to install the game. It was already there on Stadia. That's where I play Immortals Phoenix Rising. And dude, it was just, I grabbed my controller, tapped into my computer, and I was done. And when I'm done I then went upstairs, turned on my TV, and continued on. So it was just that simple, is the ability to go wherever I want at any minute and not have to worry about downloading, because I had to then capture other footage for a segment we were doing. You can look for it this week on InsideTheGame.ca's this show for episode 116, where we talk about our biggest pet peeves. But I needed to then download the game to tap into that pet peeve that I had for the show. So, I'm waiting, where when I was on Stadia, dude, I literally just turned it on.
Yeah.
Right? So, Brad, the show is getting long already, my friend. So I'm going to have us jump ahead because I want to get talking about one of my favorite games and genres. Let's talk about Metal Gear, shall we?
Yeah, for sure.
So we're getting some weird tweets coming out of Metal Gear right now. We think there could be an announcement coming this week. We're not even sure where to begin with this one. A series of rather cryptic Metal Gear related tweets have sparked speculation over some kind of incoming announcement. Well, if it wasn't cryptic, it would not be Metal Gear.
No, exactly.
Right? It's all about, it's all a bit weird, but we're trying to make some sense of it. So let's figure this out. So over on Twitter, Tom Olsen was created back in April 2021. Okay, according to his bio, Tom is a maintenance technician at the Big Shell, the main setting of Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty. Tom only follows the official accounts. You ready? Metal Gear, Konami, Hideo Kojima, and a baseball team called the New York Mets. So we'll see what happens, but he tweeted out, greasing the wheels in Strut E, the material distribution facility. We just call it the parcel room. It's strange. There are far more boxes being shipped around than usual. Management must be preparing something big soon. What the heck are they up to? Okay, Brad. Dude, I don't want Metal Gear Solid 2.
No, I'm not a remaster or anything like that. Like, I loved the series up until I, for whatever reason, thought it would be a good idea to get into Acid and Acid 2 on the PSP. And then I just kind of lost complete interest with Peace Walker. And Kiefer Sutherland is not Solid Snake. We're just gonna say that. I tried Ground Zeroes when they launched that $49 12-minute demo or whatever it was on the PS4.
Sure. Yeah.
And that to me was a slap in the face. But it sold like crazy. This demo, or it might have been an hour. It wasn't 12 minutes, but it was like one mission.
Yep.
And I couldn't get into it. Like I don't know. I just felt that it was I'm
loved
excited. I'm excited for this announcement, but I mean, if they say that they're re-releasing Sons of Liberty,
yeah. No one wants to play as Raiden. Like that was
well,
dude.
Revengeance was awesome, but that's because it was meant as an action game.
Sure.
But no, it's Snake or nothing. You can't.
It's just not the same, right?
Yeah.
We're all looking for Snake. We don't want to worry about playing the second half of Metal Gear Solid 2 as Raiden, who was just a wuss that entire game until you got into 4, where that changed his whole perception, right, of the Metal Gear. And then Metal Gear 5 came out, and that was just a whole different take as well. But something new, Scott and I touched on it last week. We want to see Metal Gear Solid 1 redone. Like, that game needs a remake. Or my personal favorite, Snake Eater, but I don't think we'll see that at all. But that's just a preference on my side. But dude, Metal Gear 1, not 2. If they do 2, to me, I think they're just not listening to the fans.
Not at all. It's I don't know. Well, like now that I'm reading about this and they're talking and you're seeing all this stuff, like it's just I don't know. We'll see.
It's not looking good, right?
No, it's looking like it's going to be a remaster of probably the worst of the actual Solid series.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's just, we'll see what happens. Look for more Metal Gear news this week. We'll be, of course, covering it. Scott will be back on this week to be able to help us out and decipher what is going on in the world of Metal Gear. But, dude, after 5, I didn't think we'd ever see Metal Gear again because, obviously, the big fallout with Kojima and Konami, that, dude, I didn't think that was going to happen at all.
Yeah, it was pretty nasty fallout and like when they released Survive, it was almost like it was a slap in his face. They just took the game, threw Metal Gear in it. It had nothing to do with the series, and they made it into this like survival game. Yeah,
not exactly what we were thinking it was going to be, right? So we'll see what happens. But more news hopefully on that soon, real soon this week. And we got more news on Spider-Man's Miles Morales has already outsold The Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima. Dude, it's selling huge. Now, let's take note though, it is also on PS5 and PS4. It's on 2 cross gens, right? Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us have been ported over, so you'll be able to play it on both if you wanted to. So that's how I actually played Ghost of Tsushima. As of recently, I just installed it on my PS5, dude, and I was playing it there. But they're tapping in, is going strong. But I want to really kind of dive into the fact that, of course it is, because everybody knows who Spider-Man is, versus where you have Ghost of Tsushima and you have The Last of Us Part 2, which The Last of Us Part 2 is for a certain type of player versus where Spider-Man is like that action and anybody. Well, exactly, right? You're playing with 2 different genres here. So, like, did you played Spider-Man?
Oh yeah, I have. Of course
you did.
I have the PS4 version, like of the original Spider-Man.
Yep.
Then I got the launch edition of the one on PS5 that came with the remaster of Spider-Man again, and I loved it. I mean, it was like a lot of people weren't happy that it was like a 10-hour story, but if you do everything, if you just do the story, it's a long story for 10 hours, especially pushing the graphics like they did with that.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the heck out of it. Like it was, I haven't gotten all the suits, but I'll go back and like, cause they added some just through an update. So
yeah, well, that's the other side of it too. They keep updating the game, right? Ghost of Tsushima right now is done. You won't see an update on that game. We got Legends. That's the last thing we'll see. They're probably already now in the works for Ghost of Tsushima 2, so we won't see anything until then, which was too bad because, man, like the Legends mode was awesome. I love that fact that they had a 2-player co-op and then you had a 4-player kind of horde-based mode, and it was so good. But if they can carry that into 2, man, oh man, we're in for something pretty sweet by Insomnia or Sucker Punch, which is gonna be awesome. Yeah, but we'll see what happens with more Spider-Man. But yeah, it was just, of course, it sells big because everybody knows who Spider-Man is. Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get going on to where do I want to go now, Brad? Where should we go now? Let's go into. Oh, you want to do it? Let's do it. Let's do it. Outrider concerns, everybody. Outrider devs actively deleting tweets or deleting comments over on their Reddit page after a slew of issues at launch and 2 rather big patches to fix the issues. It seems that gamers are experiencing issues with the game, such as random server connection issues And People Can Fly over on their Reddit page are deleting comments from people who are posting concerns. That's a bit like I don't know how
concerning.
to take this, right? I honestly don't know how to take it because they've been so transparent from the get-go, even on day one, right? They've talked about
we screwed up and we're gonna do better.
Yeah, and now they're just deleting people's comments on their Reddit page, which is just, was that because they think they fixed it, so they just want to take it down?
It's possible, but I mean, like as I mean, we both have put lots of hours into this game,
man.
And yet, like, I haven't seen any of the actual like PC to PC server errors. But when I'm playing with somebody that's cross-gen, I find that it's dropped out a couple times. But I went Devastator class, which is what a lot of the questions were based towards them, because it seemed like they had nerfed the tank. I was playing one day where absorbing a crazy amount of damage, wasn't dying, and then they came up with this fix, and he was weak, like get swarmed by a bunch of enemies that you could normally have no issues doing. And then people started commenting, like I kept dying. I was like Zub, I kept dying. But I had to keep having my buddy revive me, and then people were commenting about it, and then my stats went back to normal. It was almost like they had taken a buff or something out. But yeah, now that they're deleting tweet or messages, like that's People Can Fly haven't commented on the reasoning behind it. Like I could see them deleting comments like, "Oh, you should kill yourself, you've released a broken game." Like, you don't need stuff like that, but legitimate concerns about the game. And it's the YouTuber Open World Games was the one that I had seen this from, and he had screenshots of people's comments with the timestamps, and then those comments were completely gone.
Yeah, that's just weird. I'd like to know what the heck is going on over there, because that's what I said. People Can Fly have been so transparent right from the get-go, telling you, yeah, you know what, if you do this, this, and this, that'll bypass the issue, right? Like, there's logging in issues. They say, take off crossplay. Don't be doing this. So Nate and I are reviewing the game this week for the show. Make sure you check that out at InsideTheGame.ca. And, of course, TV, streaming platforms all over the world. And him and I would play, we could connect, no problem. And then our buddy Kyle would want to play, who's on the Xbox One, where we're on he has the Xbox One X. We have the Xbox Series X. Nate and I connect. The minute Kyle would try to join us, dude, he would be in there over the course of like an hour and 45 minutes. I think he played 20 minutes with us total.
Kept dropping.
Right? It just kept bailing out. And then we'd sit and wait for him and wait for him and wait for him. And it's no fault of his. It's People Can Fly need to figure out what the heck their servers are going on over there. Last night, I jumped in just to play a little bit on my own. Dude, I got froze up. It just locked me out. I was like, man, which is so bad because I just want to play the game.
It's a lot of fun. Like it's fun. It's like a third person Borderlands almost, but there's like, again, since the most recent patch for me on PC, I haven't noticed any of those issues that I had before. And I mean, it happened a lot. Like the worst was in the middle of a boss fight. Oh, server connection error. And then on top of that, you go back in, and like Agent Hal was saying, all his equipment was gone.
Yeah, just wiped.
And that happened to me, but it came back. Like they had fixed it, and then I got my items back. So I was...
It's concerning, right? I'm definitely curious to see what the future holds for Outriders. It is campaign only, right? Yeah. And then you're done. So there's no longevity in the long run of things when you compare it to like a games of service, because People Can Fly came right out and said it is not a games of service model. That's not their model. That's not what they're going for. So then how do you keep this game alive? Definitely curious to see. Brad, we normally end the show with what is out today. Dude, we have absolutely nothing, which is kind of weird. So let's wrap this show up.
Sounds good.
Why don't you tell everybody once again, where can we all find you, and what do you do in this gaming industry of ours?
So currently, our show, unfortunately, is on hold due to the pandemic. We run the largest video game expo in Northern Ontario called the Northern Game Expo. There's a Facebook page for that. www.northerngameexpo.ca is the website. Hasn't been updated at all in 2 years, obviously. We haven't done anything. I do podcasts as well through the Northern Nerdcast, available on Discord. I've got my channel there. Just like you guys, I'm on listening devices everywhere: Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcast, Anchor. On YouTube is a Northern Nerdcast. Facebook is a Northern Nerdcast. So it's pretty generic to find me.
That's awesome. And of course, you can always follow us over on Twitter at the official ITG, on Twitch, everywhere, TV streaming services, podcast services, YouTube, and of course, InsideTheGame.ca. This has been ITG Daily. I'm Drew. Brad, once again, dude, thank you for hanging out with me today. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. Until tomorrow, we'll see you inside the game.